Part 14. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 131. After some shifting of blame, the two of them successfully got rid of the beans. He Zhu glanced at Zhao Hu, who was holding the beans and was about to cry without tears, and breathed a sigh of relief that he had escaped. Inside the door, the father and son surnamed Zhang looked at the large plate of salt-baked green beans in front of them and were about to cry. All we can say is that human beings' joys and sorrows are not the same. As soon as he got into the car returning home, before it started, Zhang Lingzi's cell phone in her bag vibrated and rang, causing Zhao Hu to start the car. Shen Yunqing raised the partitions between the front and rear seats. The call was from Tong Yu. She is resting now. If there is nothing important, she would just send a message. The meeting called directly. Zhang Lingzi guessed that it was urgent or important, so she picked up the call without much thought. As soon as the call was connected, I heard Tong Yu's urgent and solemn voice, "Xiao 11, I'm afraid your rest time will end early." "Well, what happened?" "I just received a short notice that the audition time for Director Wei's new drama has been moved forward one day and will start tomorrow. But we are in the imperial capital, so this does not have a big impact on us. But there is also bad news. Su Qingmei returns to China. I heard that I came back because of Director Wei's new drama. Moreover, I suspect that Director Wei changed the time just for Su Qingmei. Zhang Lingzi has been in the entertainment industry for a while, and she has some understanding of the popular figures in the industry. Even though she has never met Su Qingmei, she has heard about Su Qingmei's name from others more than once. At the age of less than 25, he won the title of one of the top 3 best actresses in China. He occasionally acted in a TV series, but he hardly expected to be crowned the best actress in TV shows that year. In recent years, she has entered the international market and participated in the filming of many hit movies, one of which even played the leading role. You must know that this is a heroine in a foreign movie. The number of domestic female stars who can do this can be counted on one hand. The key is that this person is just 30 years old, which is the age when a woman is most attractive. Perhaps her popularity in China is not as high as that of some of the top celebrities, but her status in the industry is basically the kind that makes the management and directors laugh out loud at whatever script they fall in love with. It is true that he is a man of the hour among men of the moment. With her current status in the circle, she probably wouldn't be able to go to the other party and say hello. With Su Qingmei's arrival, I guess the heroine of Director Wei's new drama will not run away. Tong Yu's tone was a little regretful. Although she didn't think her artist could suddenly break out in acting and audition for a female lead directed by Wei, she couldn't be allowed to think boldly. After all, Chen Wan was asked to make an exception 2 days ago and end the class early, which really gave her a lot of confidence. But now that Su Qingmei has returned to China, she doesn't have to think about it anymore. Zhang Lingzi was very open-minded. Aren't there other characters? Yes, but with the arrival of Su Qingmei, everyone's focus and expectations are on her. Unless the other characters are particularly stunning and brilliant, they will be overshadowed by her at this point. Tong Yu herself was a little bit embarrassed. I still remember the movie that made her famous. She was only playing the third female lead. But when the movie was released, the heroine seemed to have no sense of presence as a foil. It's not just me who has a headache today. I guess many artists and their managers who got the opportunity to audition like us are also having a headache. I thought I could get on the boat of the TV director and gain a wave of fame, but in the end I suppressed such a big person out of thin air. Demon King. Zhang Lingzi waited calmly for her to finish. It has become a fact. There is no point in getting upset and angry. Just try your best for tomorrow's audition. Listening to the calm voice from the microphone, Tong Yu felt that the irritability in her heart had been quietly calmed down a lot. She took a deep breath and hummed, then chuckled, "I should be the one comforting you. You have to be steady." If it turns out that it's you who comforts me, then just keep this mentality. Even if Su Qingmei is here, we will try our best tomorrow. Zhang Lingzi heard that although Tong Yu said this, she actually didn't have much hope for her. I'm done, let's have a good rest. You are the one, don't think about anything tonight, have a good sleep, Zheng Zheng, and I will pick you up tomorrow. For normal auditions, she would just ask Lu Zhengzheng to follow her, but this time it was different. She had to follow it personally to be confident. Hang up the phone, Zhang Lingzi searched the internet, and sure enough, she saw that the #1 hot search topic was what Tong Yu had just told her on the phone. Ifis went to the dinner of Director Wei, and wanted to participate in the new drama of Director Wei #. There is a photo in the first post after clicking on it. It is the scene of two people toasting each other at the table. The first comment below has received tens of thousands of likes. Su Qingmei and Director Wei have joined forces. It seems that another phenomenal work from the two of them is about to be released. Looking forward to it, it seems that everyone agrees with Su Qingmei. She will take on the role of the heroine and she won't run away. Zhang Lingzi continued brushing down with great interest until a voice came from beside her. I just overheard the call you answered. Was there something wrong with the audition? Zhang Lingzi put down her phone and turned to look over. He was stunned for a moment when he met the concerned eyes. The next second he came back to his senses. It's not an accident, it's just something unexpected happened. That's good. Zhang Lingzi retracted her gaze and turned to look at the scenery outside the car window. But he was thinking in his heart, was Shen Yunqing here just now, caring about her? But what is the basis of concern? There are really more and more things worth exploring about this person, but it's a pity that she is also a busy person now. But since you want to be a fox, there will always be a day when she catches you by the tail. She is patient enough and can wait. Asterisk. Zhang Lingzi was able to see Su Qingmei's return, and by the way, she also guided Tong Yu to become less anxious. But some people will already be depressed. After Shimin learned the news from her agent, she was not even in the mood to eat the bird's nest that her nanny had just stewed for her, and her brows furrowed and she never let go. She recently wanted to return to the public eye, and Director Wei's new drama was the first official return work that she took a fancy to. I thought the audition the day after tomorrow would go smoothly, but when the audition came, Su Qingmei fell from the sky. Just as Tong Yu worried, as long as Su Qingmei is here, with her appearance that has remained unchanged for 10 years, her increasingly superb acting skills over the years, and the momentum she has honed abroad, the other people in the drama will be used to set off her of. Even if she wins the Best Actress crown, it will be the same. Assigning her to a movie queen who is several years younger than herself, how can she hold down such a figure? Isn't she doing well abroad? Why did she suddenly come back to China? She just fell in love with Director Wei's new drama. The agent sitting opposite Shimin also frowned. The incident happened suddenly, and I couldn't find any clues. What should I do now? Should I compete with her for the female lead tomorrow? I wouldn't be willing to try other roles. Although the manager also felt that there was little hope for this, looking at Sheman's depressed look, he still comforted her. We still don't know what Director Wei's new drama is. Maybe your image is just right for the heroine of the new drama. Director Wei always only chooses actors based on their suitability for the role and their acting skills, not their reputation. Don't be discouraged. Shimin felt a little better now. As soon as she picked up the bird's nest and took a sip, she saw her agent's cell phone light up on the table. It's a message from the TV program team. He quickly clicked on it and saw only a few words on the screen. It's the title of the play. Empress Yuan Zhao. Why does Yuan Zhao sound a bit familiar? She is a historical figure. The first female emperor in history. Yuan Zhao is the reign name and the name she changed to herself later. It seems that this should be a historical drama with a heroine. Aman, you won the Best Actress in that drama before. The movie also has a major heroine, and I think this heroine fits your image quite well. It's also consistent with Su Qingmei. for it. At the same time, Tong Yu also received the news and turned around and sent the title of the play to Zhang Lingzi. At the same time, he told her, let's take a moment to rest and have a good understanding of the history of Empress Yuan Zhao. Empress Yuan Zhao herself was warned. Let her know herself. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 132. Zhang Lingzi was confused for a moment because of Tong Yu's genius suggestion, and then she heard Shen Yunqing beside her ask with a somewhat uncertain tone, did you just say, Empress Yuan Zhao? Zhang Lingzi came back to her senses and realized that she had just read out the title of the play unconsciously. She simply nodded and said, it's the title of the new play I'm going to audition for tomorrow. It's called Empress Yuan Zhao. Zhang Lingzi still felt a little strange when she read these 4 words again. She never thought that in the future, there would be people who would remake the history that existed in her previous life. But since someone has remade it, it means that during her reign, she did something worthy of being remembered or praised by future generations. Why else would you spend so much time and energy on making such a TV series? She still has this confidence. However, those old diehards who have criticized her for proclaiming the emperor as a woman for a lifetime should really see that her achievements will be recognized by future generations. What a pity, we can no longer see those shameful old faces. Shen Yunqing frowned thoughtfully and analyzed slowly, since it is called Empress Yuan Zhao, the heroine of this drama should be the famous Emperor Yuan Zhao in history. Your plan is to audition the heroine. Zhang Lingzi pulled her thoughts back from her unrestrained thoughts and pursed her lips when she heard the words. If she hadn't known what the director's new drama was going to be about, she would have thought that any role would be acceptable, even if it was a male role for her to play. But now that she knows that she is being remade in her previous life, she is bound to win the heroine. It's not that she can't accept having others play her, but that she is confident that no one knows herself better than herself. If others don't act like her and it makes her uncomfortable to watch, then she might as well take this opportunity to be herself again in the previous life. So she simply nodded, yes. Then she thought about the comment she just heard from Shen Yunqing that she was the famous Emperor Yuan Zhao, and she felt happy. You also have research on Emperor Yuan Zhao? Shen Yunqing pretended not to notice that she was pretending to be calm and cheerful in her heart. She nodded and said sincerely, I admire her very much. Why? Zhang Lingzi quietly pricked up her ears after asking. Shen Yunqing just pretended not to see it, and took this opportunity to say what she had wanted to say to the person in front of her all her life. It is not easy for a woman to ascend to the throne. There are many voices of opposition in the world, but after she ascended the throne regardless of past grievances, he promoted talented people regardless of the style, so that many capable people could emerge in the court, making the government and the public at large clear, and won the respect of all people. He even led many personal expeditions, giving the people on the border 100 years of peace. Zhang Lingzi was intrigued when she heard this, and couldn't help but ask, what's the pity? It's a pity to leave so early. He couldn't even make it in time to see him for the last time. Shen Yunqing restrained himself from looking at the eyes in front of him. Fortunately, he used another way to get the person back. Zhang Lingzi could hear that he was really sad about this. Although he was a little confused as to why he was sad that an emperor from 1,000 years ago passed away too early, he was praised and made him feel good, so he didn't mind using his current body to comfort him. After a while, thinking about it from another angle, maybe she just felt tired and wanted to take a rest. Shen Yunqing's fingers on his knees tightened suddenly, causing wrinkles in the smooth material of his trousers. What Miss Zhang said makes sense. I don't feel so regretful now. Then he asked casually, it seems that Miss Zhang also knows Emperor Yuan Zhao very well. That's right, of all the emperors at home and abroad, I like her the most, not only because she is a woman like me, but also because she did a great job as an emperor. Shen Yunqing. It was very difficult for him to hold back from laughing. I used to know that His Majesty was very confident, but I didn't expect him to be so narcissistic. Until there were two rhythmic knocks on the partition in front, the partition slowly lowered, and Zhao Hu's voice came from the front, "Boss, madam, we're here." Only then did Zhang Lingzi realize that outside the car window was the downstairs of the unit where she lived. "Okay, I'll go up then. I wish you success in your audition tomorrow. That is required." Zhang Lingzi waved to Shen Yunqing in a good mood. Since this man admired her in the previous life so much, we must not disappoint him. Asterisk. But Tong Yu didn't dare to think so. Early the next morning, Tong Yu and Lu Zhengzheng rushed to Zhang Lingzi's residence. Afraid that Zhang Lingzi hadn't gotten up yet, she wanted to unlock the door directly with her fingerprint and go in, but was stopped by Lu Zhengzheng. Sister Tong, don't panic, knock on the door first." Tong Yu had no choice but to knock on the door in cooperation, then frowned and asked, "Didn't you take your fingerprints?" "Oh, the situation is different now, Sister Tong. I forgot to tell you, when I came over to deliver clothes to Sister Zixi yesterday, do you know who opened the door for me?" "Who is it?" "It's Mr. Shen." Tong Yu nodded at first, and then she was stunned when she realized what she was doing. She couldn't help but exclaimed, "Mr. Shen is at Zioxi's place." Lu Zhengzhen nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Tong Yu quickly looked down at her clothes today and made sure they were new and tidy. Then she breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Is it possible that Mr. Shen moved here?" This time Lu Zhengzhen didn't have time to reply because the door in front of her opened. Zhang Lingzi answered her, "No, yesterday my parents moved, and he came to pick me up and help me. Come in." Tong Yu walked in. After seeing that there was indeed no trace of a man in the room, she relaxed her nervous little heart. "Have you washed up?" "Zheng and I brought breakfast. Let's set off after eating." "I just brushed my teeth." "Then you go and wash your face, and we'll put breakfast on the table first." The two of them entered the kitchen. Tong Yu saw at a glance that there were some simple and elegant tableware on the cabinet that did not match the style of other sets of tableware. She thought they looked good and took them down for later use. "The taste of this tableware has also improved, but why didn't you buy a complete set?" Lu Zhengzheng looked at the tableware in Tong Yu's hand and opened her mouth after hearing this. "Sister Tong, if I admit it correctly, the tableware you brought should have been brought by Mr. Shen." "Tong Yu. People are not at the table but coming over. Is this a new way of living together?" Lu Zhengzheng added in hindsight, "Mr. Shen brought breakfast to Sister Zixi yesterday. The food box and cutlery were delivered together, but they were not taken away after use." Tong Yu. To be honest, she had a hard time imagining the person who came here early in the morning with a food box and knocked on the door to deliver breakfast. Or are you just planning to invade Xiao 11's life little by little? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 133. Zhang Lingzi pinched the salted egg yolk shamai in her hand and turned to face Tong Yu's hesitant face. "Sister Tong, do you want to tell me something?" Tong Yu took a sip of the soy milk at her hand, and then spoke carefully, "That's Mr. Shen from your family. Zheng said he came to your place yesterday, and you two are you going to end the previous non-interference and start preparing to develop a relationship? Then she, as an agent, must be prepared. Those in the industry who have hidden marriages and accidentally expose them must not trigger a big or small storm. At present, our artists are developing in a better and better direction, but we cannot be affected by this incident." In response to Tong Yu's questions and a series of thoughts, Zhang Lingzi just chuckled and said, "Sister Tong, you are overthinking. Her positioning between herself and Shen Yunqing is that so far, she is still a party to the contract. It's just that this contract is a bit strange. Perhaps, when she gets the reason why Shen Yunqing chose to get the certificate from the original person, the relationship may change. But now, she feels it is better to maintain the status quo. When you need the other person to cooperate in showing affection, then show it openly. When there is no need, everyone is busy with their own affairs. She could chat occasionally in her free time. To be honest, she felt quite comfortable chatting with Shen Yunqing. Definitely not because she still admires her now that she knows this person. Oh, Tong Yu urgently stopped the half-formed plan in her mind, then I won't ask any more questions. You just have to control yourself. And there's today's audition, this is the highlight. I sent you a message yesterday, are you overwhelmed? After returning home yesterday, Zhang Lingzi first connected with Zai, who had started a business to earn a lot of money for herself, and then took a call from Su Xinyuan, a child who asked her for calligraphy lessons. By the way, she discussed the progress of physical conditioning with Mr. Su Mo-kun, and then hung up. After that, she calmly cooked, ate, and took a bath. She didn't read even a word of information about Empress Yuan Zhao until she went to bed. But at this moment, she calmly nodded, yes, I'll hug her. Tong Yu had no doubts at all and breathed a sigh of relief when she saw this. Although there is no script, the title of the play has revealed a lot. Director Wei should be filming the life of Empress Yuan Zhao, so the characters in the play should also be among the historical figures of the Yuan Zhao period. Which female character do you prefer? Zhang Lingzi didn't even think about it, of course it's Empress Yuan Zhao. How could she not even like herself? Tong Yu raised her forehead and said, I also like Empress Yuan Zhao, who was the first woman to become emperor, but what I want to ask is, in addition to Empress Yuan Zhao, do you have any other female historical figures during the Yuan Zhao period? Do you want to act? Zhang Lingzi just finished eating the last bite of shéamai in her hand. When she heard this, she raised her eyes and met Tong Yu's looking eyes, with a little more seriousness on her face. Sister Tong, I'm going to audition for Empress Yuan Zhao. But, Lu Zhengzheng suddenly let go of the sesame ball she had just picked up with her chopsticks. It fell to the table and rolled to the ground. But no one cared about the poor sesame pill at the moment, both of them were stunned. Looking at Zhang Lingzi, she didn't know what to say for a while. After a while, Tong Yu took a long breath and said, Xiao 11, we have to recognize the reality. Su Qingmei is the heroine, so we can't change her? We can't go all the way in vain, right? Tong Yu really lost her appetite at the thought of the possibility that her trip would be in vain, and that she might even arouse the dissatisfaction of Director Wei because she was so ambitious. Why didn't I realize that my own artists have such a big heart before? Shiman, it feels like it's being understood. Zhang Lingzi saw that Tong Yu looked so worried that she would screw up during the audition. She sighed inwardly and couldn't bear it, so she had to compromise and said, and Wei Fueying. Is she the female general who was single-handedly promoted by Emperor Yuan Zhao during the Yuan Zhao period and eventually reached the rank of Grand Sima? Zhang Lingzi nodded. That's okay. Tong Yu estimated that even if this role is not the second female lead, she should be ranked as the third female lead. If before Zhang Lingzi said that she wanted to audition for the role of Empress Yuan Zhao, Tong Yu would have felt that the role of Wei Fueying was a bit uncertain, and she could have chosen someone who was easier to control to be on the safe side. But it must be said that the window opening effect in the past was very effective. She now feels that as long as she does not audition for the heroine, other roles will not be that difficult. Lu Zhengzhen knelt down and picked up the sesame balls, her eyes brightened from the dullness just now. Sister Zixi, besides Empress Yuan Zhao, I also like Wei Fueying very much. I think she is so handsome. Oh, Zhang Lingzi was a little surprised that her assistant, who loves surfing the internet, also studied history. You also like to read history? Ah, That's not the case. Lu Zhengzheng waved his hands with a look of shame on his face. I just read General Wei's fan fiction. The author really admired General Wei. The novel was so wonderful. I read the novel, I couldn't help but search about General Wei's history and thought she was super handsome. Fan fiction. That is. After being educated on what fan fiction is, Zhang Lingzi, I feel like a door to a new world has opened in front of me. Is there anyone writing about the same person as Empress Yuan Zhao? There must be some, more than those about General Wei. Where to look? Just this reading software. Download one for me too. Tong Yu glared at Lu Zhengzheng, who had successfully brought the topic away, and then looked at Zhang Lingzi, who was full of words that she wanted to see Empress Yuan Zhao, who was not nervous about the upcoming audition, and patted the table unbearably. Do you want to have breakfast? Asterisk. At the same time, the breakfast table at the main residence of the Wei family. Wei Minmin's food wasn't very good, so she kept staring at the person sitting opposite her with piercing eyes. Wei Xiao pretended not to notice at first, but finally couldn't bear it anymore and looked up. You know my rules. It's about work. Even if it's a family member, I won't show favoritism. But you said before that I look like the ancestor in the portrait hanging in the ancestral hall. Wei Minmin pursed her lips aggrievedly. Why can't I play the role of the ancestor? What a wonderful inheritance this is. Is there a more suitable candidate than me? Wei Xiao looked at his eldest niece, who looked aggrieved in front of him, sighed in silence for a moment, and nodded. It's true. Wei Minmin was stunned and quickly asked, who? Wei Xiao had seen his eldest niece being so arrogant, and this time he didn't give in to her. Zhang Lingzi. I watched the video of her archery before, didn't you also come over to watch it? I remember you praised her for her great archery. Although her acting skills may not be very good in the previous dramas, she can still practice her acting skills, and her fierce aura is rare. Wei Minmin was a little weak, but she still said firmly, I have also practiced archery. Ever since she knew what kind of drama her brother-in-law would be filming next through the convenience of her family, she began to work quietly for the role she wanted to win. Okay, Wei Xiao was not unaware of her private efforts. He raised his eyebrows and nodded. You also go to the audition, and then you will compete with Zhang Lingzi to see whose interpretation of the character satisfies me more. Just choose whoever you want. Wei Minmin raised her chin. Let's compare. She probably can't win in archery, but it's not necessary to actually shoot when filming. But when it comes to acting skills, she's not bad. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 134. I don't know what the audition pattern of the TV director will be like this time. Zhang Lingzi was searching for her own fan fiction on the reading software she had just downloaded. When she heard Tong Yu muttering to herself, she replied casually, what mode? Aren't all auditions the same? When asked about this, Tong Yu had something to say. It's really different. Auditions for other crews usually involve actors trying out the role they want to play, or the director assigns you which role to audition for, but this time as a health director, his auditions never follow the rules. Zhang Lingzi put down her phone for the time being and listened intently. I will tell you two things that I know. You should have seen the only war-themed movie made by director Wei. Zhang Lingzi nodded. Not only had she watched it, but she had just watched it a few days ago. What was in the movie was still clearly imprinted in her mind. I heard that the movie was a one from the beginning of the audition. War-themed movies require actors who are willing to endure hardships and not be afraid of getting dirty. So he simply applied for a military camp that could be partially opened, and all the actors who wanted to audition could go in. Just like real soldiers, they were trained in running and running. Those who could persist were considered successful in the audition. In the end, only less than 10 people were screened out of more than 100 people. Later, when the behind-the-scenes of the film were released, director Wei was awarded the title of the most ruthless director. There is also a modern drama in which the protagonist is a deaf-mute. The actresses who auditioned for the female lead had actually been deaf-mute for several months. The one who succeeded in the audition was because of this drama and won advanced sign language certificate. During the interview, she even joked that if she couldn't survive in the entertainment industry, she could still use the sign language certificate to become a teacher. After all, it is a rare profession. Of course, Tong Yu smiled, to be the heroine in a TV drama, unless you make a mistake that is intolerable to the public, how can you not survive in the industry? But this time it's a historical drama. I'm afraid the audition experience of the previous seniors is nothing to refer to. Tong Yu thought about it and decided to give up. She, a mere mortal, would not be embarrassed to speculate on the brain circuits of a master like Director Wei. Patted Zhang Lingzi's hand as a comfort. Anyway, if the time comes, it won't be too abnormal to adapt to circumstances. Zhang Lingzi. Is this comfort? The speed of the car slowed down, and a reminder from Lu Zhengzheng came from the front seat. Sister Tong, Sister Zixi, the Qinglia Grand Theater is here. Zhang Lingzi turned her head and looked out the car window. When she saw the large building almost surrounded by willow trees, she raised her eyebrows. She still has an impression of this place. When I went to Ziwan before, I passed by here every time, and it seemed like it was not far away. The audition was held here. It was spacious enough, but a little out of the way. However, the Grand Theater is not deserted at all at this moment. There are already many large and small commercial vehicles and nanny cars parked in the parking lot next to them, and there are also vehicles like them that are slowly driving in. Tong Yu couldn't help but take a breath. I thought we came early, but I didn't expect everyone to be so diligent. The car drove all the way to the end and finally found a parking space. Just as he was about to park, a black business car suddenly cut in and tried to seize the parking space. To ensure safety, the driver of their car had to slam on the brakes. Fortunately, the speed of the car was not high, and the people in the car just leaned forward due to inertia. Lu Zhengzheng exclaimed, and Tong Yu's face turned dark. Hibernated not to open the window and curse, he suppressed his anger and ordered, "Drive further in, there should be a parking space in front." The car continued to start. Tong Yu glanced at the car that had robbed their parking space through the rearview mirror and wrote down the license plate number. What if you can get some wool for just a few minutes and get the appreciation of the health director in advance? What a little bit he has no quality, so the director of defense looks down on him. Zhang Lingzi patted her hand in turn and said, "You don't need to be familiar with it." After finally parking the car, the three of them got out of the car and turned back towards the theater. They passed by the car that had been blocked before and saw the door open at the back. Tong Yu's steps were just a step away. She wanted to see who was riding in this car. First, a pair of shoes so pointy that they could be used as awls, and then a champagne-colored dress studded with diamonds. When Tong Yu moved her eyes to Zhang Ziu's delicately made-up face, she couldn't help but I thought to myself that we are really enemies. However, compared to the rude gas just now, she is more concerned about another thing. Where did you get the audition qualification? If she remembered correctly, Zhang Ziu violated Director Wei's taboo before and was completely excluded from Director Wei's new drama. How could he appear here again? Zhang Yuding and Xiao Tao stood guard beside Zhang Ziu. Hearing this, he snorted, "No comment." Tong Yu looked at her proud look, and although she was still a little confused, the most important thing at the moment was to arrive at the audition smoothly. "Xiao 11, Zhengzheng, let's go. Zhang Ziu can still appear here." She admits that Zhang Yuding has some abilities, but then the manager can't be of much help. Whether she can get the role of Director Wei's new drama depends on the artist's own abilities. Zhang Lingzi paused when she passed by Zhang Ziu, who had been staring at her since she got off the car. Slightly sideways glance, "What are you looking at?" Zhang Ziu suddenly panicked when he was asked, and subconsciously took a step back. He stepped on the hem of his skirt and almost fell down. Fortunately, Xiao Tao helped him in time. Zhang Yuding frowned upon seeing this, and stretched out her hand to push Zhang Lingzi. "You're just looking at me, Miss Zhang can't be looked at, so what kind of star do you think you are?" Zhang Lingzi turned her body slightly and easily avoided her hand. She then glanced at Zhang Ziyu, who subconsciously dodged after meeting her eyes. She narrowed her eyes and turned to look at Tong Yuehi, who was waiting for her. Lu Zhengzheng said, "Let's go." If she were in other places, there would be no way for her to get Zhang Ziyu to speak. But now that we are in a parking lot with lots of people coming and going, some actions are not easy to do. After walking out a few steps, Tong Yu still felt unlucky and couldn't help complaining, "She is dressed so grandly. If you don't know better, you would think you are here to walk on the red carpet." Zhang Lingzi. Had she not insisted on wearing this dress before coming here, Sister Tong seemed to have planned to dress her up in a grand way. However, she just thought about this in her mind. "I remember you said before that Zhang Ziyu gave Director Wei a cold look." Tong Yu frowned at the mention of this. "I'm also wondering. I don't know what kind of path Zhang Yuding found to get the audition qualification again. I didn't receive any news that she would come to audition before, otherwise she would have been there early. I'm reminding you. If you don't like to hear it, you two do look a bit similar, and she has more acting experience than you. You really have to go all out this time, and you must not lose to her." Zhang Lingzi only nodded slightly, still recalling the way Zhang Ziyu looked at her just now in her mind. It wasn't that she was overly sensitive, but that she felt keenly that the way Zhang Ziyu looked at her just now was indeed different from the simple hostility he showed when they met before. It also contains some other things. As the saying goes, the person who knows you best is often the enemy. Zhang Ziyu and the original person are rivals and can be considered enemies. Could it be that during this time, he finally figured out the abnormality in her? Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 135. Chapter 135 Cursive Writing. "Good morning, all of you, please sign here and report." At the entrance of the theater, the hostess wearing a light blue Guangzhou embroidered dress handed over a clean brush with both hands. Tong Yu stood beside Zhang Lingzi, looking at the signature board in front of her and couldn't help but twitching her lips. This was the first time she had seen signing with a writing brush. "So, they haven't even entered yet, has the first level of the audition begun?" Looking at the signature board, there are already a lot of names signed. In the past, everyone went to the red carpet to participate in events and signed autographs for fans in one go. What they wanted was for you to not be able to recognize what they were signing. But this time, she recognized everyone's names. It's just that most of them are written like primary school students practicing calligraphy. Although the strokes are one stroke, they are also crooked. Only a few of them are okay. It can be seen at a glance that they have some calligraphy skills and they look quite comfortable. In comparison, the gap is quite large. Tong Yu feels that after what Director Wei has done, there will be many more people in the circle who will start practicing calligraphy hard. Thinking that her artist had never written calligraphy before, she looked at Zhang Lingzi, who had already dipped in ink. "Let's not be in a hurry and write slowly. We don't strive to look good, but strive to." Before he could say the word neatly, the tip of the brush in Zhang Lingzi's hand had already landed on the blank space of the signature pad. With a slight turn of the wrist, the three words Zhang Lingzi were completed in one go. Tong Yu opened her mouth and looked at the slightly messy but smooth handwriting. Is this cursive script? If she hadn't seen it written by her own artist, she really wouldn't be able to read these three words. Zhang Lingzi returned the brush to the etiquette lady, nodded and gave a slight hum. The director came up with the idea of asking the actors who came to the audition to sign their names in calligraphy. It was definitely not out of the question. It should have been meant to test the actors' calligraphy skills and style. After all, the costume historical drama to be filmed will definitely involve writing with a brush. Since the test has begun now, there is no need to hide one's weakness. In her previous life, her favorite calligraphy was the freehand cursive calligraphy. Perhaps it was because the less she got something, the more she longed for it. The emperor is sitting in the world, and the burden on his shoulders is too heavy, but he has no freedom. Since it was not a word like Pidgehisa that the courtiers could read clearly, she naturally had to use the cursive script that Emperor Yuan Zhao liked most. The etiquette lady took the writing brush and handed over a folded booklet. The specific process of the audition is here, please read it yourself. You three, please come in and rest as you like. Zhang Lingzi thanked her after taking it, and led Tong Yu and Lu Zhengzheng into the theater along with the flow of people in front. There are already many people sitting in twos and threes in the brightly lit space, and those good-looking faces make people feel relaxed and happy at a glance. But he was also very quiet, mostly looking at the booklet in his hand carefully. Tong Yu quickly found a few empty seats. After sitting down, she couldn't wait to urge Zhang Lingzi, look at what's written in the brochure. The audition process this time is probably all here. Zhang Lingzi opened the booklet as instructed, and two heads quickly came over from both sides. You are the 56th auditionee. After reading the first sentence, Tong Yu hissed softly, this has reached 56. Keep reading and keep reading. Please select the character you want to audition from the following script roles before Shi, the start of the audition. Each person only has 2 opportunities to choose, so please choose carefully based on yourself. Lu Zhengzheng, what time is it? Tong Yu breathed a sigh of relief, if you can choose 2 roles, that's great, that's great. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Zhang Lingzi finished answering Lu Zhengzheng's question and continued reading. Most of the remaining paper was filled with characters from the script. The first one, not surprisingly, is Emperor Yuan Zhao, Zhang Yuan Zhao. The second place is Wei Fueying. What makes her a little surprised is that Princess Jinan, Zhang Ling'an, who should not have many roles in the play, ranks 4th among female characters, remaining in the top 5. This is considered the main role. I don't know who can act. Looking at the male character on the right, Prime Minister, Shen Mocking was ranked 1st, and she was not surprised she did not look at the subsequent characters, but looked up at the male actors who had already entered the scene. Who can play her Shen Sheng? To be honest, she felt that everyone was a little inadequate. But choosing actors is a matter for directors and producers, so even if she has any opinions, it's useless. I just hope I can find one that is more or less consistent. Tong Yu handed over a pen. Zhang Lingzi recovered her thoughts and first drew a circle behind Zhang Yuanzhao's name. After a pause, she drew a smaller circle behind Wei Fueying's name. Tong Yu originally wanted to check the box, but seeing that she had finished drawing, she had to swallow her words. After signing, please submit this note to the reception desk in the waiting hall for verification, and wait patiently after receiving the audition number plate. Tong Yu stood up and looked around, then found the eye-catching reception desk. I'll go hand it in with you. Lu Zhengzheng saw the tea table on the other side, then I'll go get some water and bring it back. The soldiers were divided into 2 groups. Zhang Lingzi and Tong Yu lined up and walked to the staff responsible for verification and handed over the posts. The other party took it with both hands, opened it and saw the character selected above, and was subconsciously stunned. Then he looked up at Zhang Lingzi and asked, Teacher Zhang, are you sure you want to audition for these 2 roles? She actually wanted to ask the first one, but seeing that there were people lining up behind her, she had to ask both of them together. Zhang Lingzi nodded towards her, okay. Well, here is your audition number. The staff will remind you 3 times. If you miss it, you will have no chance to audition. Thank you for reminding. In the past, I saw other people pin it on their body after receiving the audition number plate. After Zhang Lingzi got it, she also pinned it on her body. But when he turned around and let Tong Yu see it, he asked, why is your number plate different from others? Zhang Lingzi took it and discovered, it may be a number plate that is divided according to the selected role. It is indeed possible. Unexpectedly, when she turned to leave, the staff member also breathed a sigh of relief. He thought that the number plate representing the leading female role would not be used, but he did not expect that someone would be so stubborn and chose to audition for the leading female role. Fortunately, she brought it over. Then he took out his mobile phone and sent a message to the crew's work group, "Someone has chosen the audition heroine." But before she could read the reply, she saw someone coming over again, so she had to put down her phone and continue working. Asterisk. Outside the theater. Not long after Zhang Lingzi and others entered. Zhang Ziyu arrived belatedly with Zhang Yuding and Xiao Tao. When Zhang Ziyu learned that he needed to sign with the writing brush, a smile appeared on his lips. Looking at the mixed names written on the signature board, she confidently signed her name in her best calligraphy. When returning the brush, she glanced ahead again. She didn't see Zhang Lingzi's name. Instead, she saw a majestic cursive calligraphy. Although she couldn't understand it, she had worked hard for several years to create a character of a talented woman. In calligraphy, you can still tell whether the writing is good or not. The ink is still wet, so the senior who wrote it must have entered it not long ago. Subconsciously, I asked, "Who wrote this?" Miss Etiquette looked in the direction of her finger. She still had an impression, not only because of the writing, but also because of the person who wrote it. She could not forget the two sides of it. She smiled and replied, "It's teacher Zhang Lingzi." Click, Zhang Ziyu heard the sound of the smile mask on his face breaking. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 136. Chapter 136, Overestimating One's Own Capabilities. After quickly taking his hand back, Zhang Ziyu wanted to slap himself in the mouth with his backhand to make you ask more questions. Zhang Yuding also looked a little unhappy. "Let's go in first." The three of them lifted their feet and were about to walk in when they heard a demonic voice next to them again, "You three, please wait a moment." Zhang Ziyu suppressed his depression and impatience. "What's wrong?" "I'm sorry, teacher Zhang Ziyu, right? I just found out that the role you are auditioning for is a non-main actor, that is, a special actor. You cannot enter through this entrance. There is a sign in front. When the three of you come here, it should be I was so anxious that I didn't have time to watch. The special role is through another door. The audition is on the ground floor. Please go this way." Although the etiquette lady in front of him still looked polite, at this moment Zhang Ziyu only felt that she was definitely laughing at him in her heart. When they noticed that there were still looking eyes around them, other than Xiao Tao with her head hanging down and unable to see her expression clearly, Zhang Ziyu and Zhang Yuding couldn't help but stiffen their faces. They just walked this way. Who has the intention to read the signs on the roadside? The result was such a big joke. Resisting the urge to raise her hands to cover her face, Zhang Ziyu picked up her skirt and left, her high heels clicking. If it wasn't for the fact that she couldn't walk fast, she would have wanted to run away right now. Zhang Yuding reached out and patted Xiao Tao on the back. "Still not leaving yet," she said, and hurriedly chased after her. Finally far away from the center of sight, Zhang Ziyu turned back to look at Xiao Tao who was following him. She suddenly became angry. It was not easy to slap her in the face in public, so she had to use the cover of her sleeves to pinch her hard. "Don't you have eyes? The sign is so if you don't know, please remind me. If your eyes are useless, just gouge them out." Xiao Tao gritted her teeth and endured the pain, but remained silent. Zhang Ziyu twisted it a few more times before he felt more at ease. Unlucky. Unexpectedly, after they left, the etiquette lady also breathed a sigh of relief. Just now she saw the aura of the teacher Zhang Ziyu, and she really thought that he was here to audition for the main actor, and she almost got in. Had the other party not asked too much about the words on the signature board, which made her subconsciously search the form in her hand, she might have actually let in the person who shouldn't have entered. If such a big mistake really happened, she would probably have to pay extra, not to mention today's salary. Thank you very much, teacher Zhang Lingzi. Fortunately, Zhang Ziyu didn't hear this whispered thank you, otherwise he would have been vomiting blood instead of being short of breath. Asterisk. Xiao 11. Zhang Lingzi put down the cup in her hand, stood up and looked at the woman who was walking towards her with a graceful look in a black fishtail skirt. Sister Man. What a coincidence, you are here to audition for the health director. Shiman had a smile on her face, but she was a little surprised in her heart. Even though this is just an audition, the threshold of this audition alone has stopped most people in the industry. Those who can come in are at least actors who have been approved by the director. Even though they had filmed a show together before, she had a good impression of Zhang Lingzi after the transformation. But I still feel that Zhang Lingzi is not qualified yet. At most, he is only qualified to participate in the audition of the negative level. But now on the scene, even if she is surprised, she will not show it. Zhang Lingzi just pretended not to notice. Sister Man, sit down. Then you're welcome. My number is number 36. I still have a while and I want to talk to someone. In fact, there are many people chatting with her. After all, she still has the title of a movie queen, but in such an occasion, everyone can be said to be opponents, and even chatting is not easy at all. So after discovering that Zhang Lingzi was actually in this hall, and out of curiosity, she simply came over. Although there was still undrinkable water on hand, Zhang Lingzi did not push it over. It was expected that Shiman would not drink the water handed to her by others on such occasions, even if they knew each other. I am number 56, later. Everyone came very early. Shiman sighed and noticed the number plate on Zhang Lingzi's body. Hey, yours seems different from mine. She had seen everyone wearing pink or blue before, and thought it was just these two colors, but the one on Zhang Lingzi was yellow. Maybe the audition was for a different role. I originally wanted to audition for the female lead, but as you've heard, Su Qingmei has returned to China. Once she comes back, I'm afraid she won't have to fight for the female lead. Shiman touched her number plate, just to be on the safe side. Finally, I changed my goal. I'm going to give Queen Fu Qingshan a try. What about you? The two styles would not collide, and the audition roles would definitely not overlap. Only then did she speak frankly about her plans. Tong Yuegong wanted to help Zhang Lingzi answer the question of Wei Fuiying's role, but she didn't have time to speak. Zhang Lingzi has already spoken, Zhang Yuanzhao. Shiman moved for a moment, then slowly gave a thumbs up and praised, you young people are still ambitious. However, despite all the praise, she didn't think Zhang Lingzi could win this role. You must know that since the title of the play is Empress Yuanzhao, the heroine should be acting out the life of Empress Yuanzhao. It is no surprise that Emperor Yuanzhao would choose a young actor when he was a child, but Emperor Yuanzhao, who is in his 40s, should probably rely on makeup to complete the performance. Zhang Lingzi may be suitable for the young Emperor Yuanzhao, but he cannot play the role of Emperor Yuanzhao after middle age. Being young and with little experience is the biggest disadvantage. Sister Man. Shiman heard the sound and turned her head to look over. When she saw the person walking towards her, she said, Shuefei is here too. Zhang Lingzi turned back. Lin Shuefei was walking in the direction of Shiman with a smile on her face, when she suddenly met Zhang Lingzi's eyes and stopped in her tracks. Why is Zhang Lingzi here? She raised her feet again after a second. No matter what she was thinking, she still said hello with a smile when she got closer. Xiao 11 is here too. Zhang Lingzi nodded slightly towards her. Long time no see. It's been a long time indeed, Lin Shuefei said, pointing to the empty seat beside her with a questioning look. "Zhang Lingzi, sit down." Shimen looked to her left and then to her right, and smiled suddenly. "Xuefei, I guess the role you are going to audition for is Zhang Ling'an, is that correct?" Zhang Lingzi looked at Lin Xuefei's face. Lin Xuefei pursed her lips, and her eyes were a little more wary when Zhang Lingzi looked over. She hesitated for a moment and nodded. "One of the roles is indeed Zhang Ling'an. Xiao 11 won't collide with me, right?" Then I thought that the name of the character I chose was just one word different from Zhang Lingzi, and my eyes became a little darker. But Shimen smiled and waved her hand. "Xiao 11 is bolder than you. She plans to audition for the lead female role." Lin Xuefei's heart was shocked and she couldn't help but laugh at her for not overestimating her abilities. She said with sincere encouragement on her face, "Come on. Look at how big the gap is between you and Su Qingmei. Female 1, I really dare to think." End of this chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 137. Chapter 137, focus only on taking care of food. Let alone Zhang Lingzi and Tong Yu, even the somewhat nervous Lu Zhengzheng could see the disdain in Shimen and Lin Xuefei's eyes. Tong Yu was somewhat comforted by the thought of having an alternative role, and Zhang Lingzi just took a sip of water. No need to explain, the end result will speak for itself. At 9 o'clock, there was a little more commotion in the hall. Firstly, it was because the audition was about to begin, and secondly, it was because of the heavyweights who had just arrived. When Su Qingmei showed up, even though she was only wearing a low-key ink-colored dress and her hair was only pulled up with a green sandalwood hairpin, she still attracted the attention of most people present. Even Shimen stood up and looked at the calm, elegant and powerful figure not far away, hiding fear deep in her eyes. However, before the people who thought they were familiar came forward to say hello, a staff member with a name tag hurriedly walked out of the infield and said, "Teacher Su, Director Wei, please go to the infield to rest." Everyone could only watch helplessly as Su Qingmei followed the staff into the infield in advance. Such special treatment made many people silently blush. Shimen sat down again and looked at Zhang Lingzi, who was hesitant to speak. Su Qingmei is so highly regarded by Director Wei, it is probably a certainty that she will get the number 1 female lead. With so many actors present, Zhang Lingzi was probably the only one who dared to audition for the female lead. She can only say that a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. While sighing, I heard Lin Xuefei say, "I heard that many people on the internet called Mr. Su Qinghuang. I just showed up and it really shocked the whole audience. I have such a strong aura." Even though she knew that Lin Xuefei's words were mainly intended to ridicule Zhang Lingzi for being so ambitious, such a high evaluation still made her laugh a little, and she barely curled her lips. After Lin Xuefei finished speaking, she looked at Zhang Lingzi, but saw that the other party didn't even raise her eyebrows, as if he hadn't heard what she just said, and she couldn't help but feel a little uninterested. Simply lowered his head and continued to read the information about Princess Jinan on his mobile phone. Zhang Lingzi is looking for death, but she thinks that she can succeed in the audition in one fell swoop. She couldn't help but get a little excited when she thought about being able to act with Su Qingmei and become sisters in the play. Zhang Lingzi took out her vibrating phone and saw that the message was from Tong Yu and couldn't help but look up at her. Tong Yu pointed to the phone and asked her to read the message. "Tong Yu, how about forget it? It seems that Su Qingmei has already been chosen as the female lead. It's probably useless for you to audition again." Zhang Lingzi also typed a reply, "As long as the crew doesn't make it clear that the female lead is Su Qingmei, then I still have a chance." When Su Qingmei came in before, everyone looked over, and she naturally looked over. The opponent's aura is indeed very strong, and it can be said that he is the most oppressive among so many people present. Even so, she would not give in. Tong Yu couldn't help but chew her nails when she read the message Zhang Lingzi sent back to her. How come I didn't know this girl was so stubborn before? I thought for a while and then typed, otherwise, you can audition Wei Fueying first. If director Wei is satisfied, you can then say that you want to try the lead female role. We have to secure at least one. She thought that if she couldn't get the role of Wei Fueying, then she would just quit thinking about it and get out without even trying. Zhang Lingzi put her phone on her phone after reading the message and nodded slightly to Tong Yu. Tong Yu breathed a sigh of relief, but couldn't help but clasping her hands together. She must get a role so that she wouldn't waste so many days of preparation. After a while, a bell rang, and everyone was shocked. At 9 o'clock, the audition begins. The actor wearing the number 1 number plate took a deep breath and stood up, and slowly walked into the newly opened infield door under the watch of others in the venue. As the door slammed shut again, the hall remained quiet for a moment before low voices rang out. It's not good to be the first one to audition, it's too stressful. Guess how long the person just now will stay in there. I went to the TV director's set for a screen test before, and I remember that the shortest one came out in less than 3 minutes, usually around 10 minutes. Then I will make a blind guess of 8 minutes. Not long after, the infield gate opened again, and many people subconsciously glanced at the time displayed on their mobile phones. 6.5 minutes. Then he looked at the face of the girl who had just walked out, but he saw neither excitement nor frustration. Instead, he saw a somewhat complicated meaning. Immediately afterwards, 2 people who should be the agent and assistant hurriedly greeted him. They left without asking any questions. Shiman looked back. Why does it feel a little weird? Did she succeed or not? Lin Suifei was equally unsure, frowning and shaking her head. I didn't see it either. Zhang Lingzi watched number 2 enter the venue, and then looked at the number plate number 56 on her body. She felt that at this speed, it would probably be afternoon when it was her turn. So he asked out of curiosity, does the meal take care of here at noon? Shiman. Lin Suifei. Is your focus a bit wrong? Asterisk. Time passed by, and as more and more people came in to audition, some who were still waiting in line outside could no longer hold back. How are the auditions going on inside? Everyone had a secretive expression when they came out. I almost wondered if they were there. The man who was being pulled shook his head with a wry smile. Director Wei said, keep it secret. After saying that, he sighed, don't think too much, just be prepared. It's better not to ask. After hearing this answer, I felt even more uneasy. It's almost noon, and it's finally No 36's turn. Shiman took a deep breath and stood up. Lin Suifei clenched her fists and said, Sister Man, come on, I wish you success. Shiman smiled and said, I'd like to lend you some good words. After she left, there was no one at the table to ease the atmosphere. After Lin Suifei and Zhang Lingzi looked at each other in silence for a moment, they simply got up and left, looking for an actor they knew well to inquire about the news. Lu Zhengzheng let out a sigh of relief as soon as she left. Even though she's gone, she doesn't even know how much she hates her. I hate people who speak in a roundabout way and are sarcastic. If Zhang Ziyu was the most annoying person before, then Lin Suifei can now be ranked second. Zhang Lingzi tapped her forehead with her finger. There are many people with mixed eyesight, so you have to think carefully before speaking. Lu Zhengzheng covered her head and nodded obediently. Tong Yu saw that Zhang Lingzi taught her a lesson, so she didn't say anything more. Shiman should be fine. If you go to auditions and still can't get a third female lead, then the director's requirements are not as high as usual. Shiman went in for more than 10 minutes before coming out. Seeing this, Tong Yu felt even more confident. Lin Suifei saw Shiman come out and come back under the white eyes of Lu Zhengzheng, who quietly let go. Her face said that she wanted to ask, but she didn't dare to ask. On the contrary, Shiman smiled openly and said, I can only say that this audition is indeed very rigorous, and I can't say anything else. I will go back and wait for the notification. Come on, you two. After saying that, he took his agent and assistant with him and left the hall with a smile. Lin Swifei looked at Shi Man's back and said, "It seems like Sister Man is quite confident." Zhang Lingzi stood aside and pretended not to hear, turned to Tong Yu and said, "It's almost 12:30, and it seems like there's no food here. Why don't you ask Zheng Zheng to ask if we can go out to have a meal before coming back?" She was afraid that she would not be allowed in at the door if she went out and came back. Lin Swifei. A loser? Even though you are so nervous, you can still think about eating. End of this chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 138. Chapter 138. The appetite is very good and not small. To be honest, Tong Yu was speechless for a moment. Her manager, who was just here to accompany her, was so nervous that she couldn't even feel hungry. The owner actually still thought about eating on time. It's true that the emperor is not in a hurry and the eunuchs are. She waved her hand towards Lu Zhengzheng, and Lu Zhengzheng ran all the way to ask the staff. The staff members were stunned for a moment after hearing her question. As the morning passed, almost half of the people who came to audition had left, and the remaining people were becoming more and more nervous. After all, there are only a few roles, but so many people are competing for them. If those at the front of the queue perform well enough for the audition, then those at the back will be at a disadvantage. In this case, who would think of having lunch? I'm so nervous that I can't even eat. Even the director and others who were still auditioning actors in the infield didn't even notice that it was already noon. I have to ask the health director for instructions. Okay, then I'll wait here for your reply. The staff put down what they were doing and jogged quietly into the infield from the side door. Waiting until the actor who was auditioning left, he quickly came over and said, "Director Wei, I have something to ask for." Wei Xiao pinched the bridge of his nose. "What's the matter?" "There is an actor assistant outside asking us if we provide lunch. If not, can we go out to eat and come back? Also, do you and the teachers also want to have lunch and take a break?" If there hadn't been an actor assistant who took the initiative to ask come here, she really didn't dare to come in and disturb her, but fortunately, such an opportunity did appear. Wei Xiao looked around and then remembered that he didn't bring anything like his mobile phone that would interfere with his audition. "What time is it?" "It's almost 12:30. Did it go by so fast?" Wei Xiao muttered to himself. "It's true that I was negligent, so I'll take an hour's rest, count the number of people as soon as possible, and order food nearby." "Okay." As the staff said this, they were about to rush to do statistics. As soon as they raised their feet, Wei Xiao raised his hand to call him back. "Which casting assistant reminded you?" Even at this time, he can still think about eating lunch that even he has forgotten about. This is a good mental quality. The staff member thought about it seriously and said, "It seems to be Zhang Lingzi, teacher Jiang's assistant." This was also due to the fact that she had quietly glanced in Zhang Lingzi's direction several times throughout the morning, and even the agent and assistant on the side also took a few glances. If you ask another actor's assistant, she may not be able to answer Director Wei's questions now. "So it's that girl," Wei Xiao nodded and chuckled, waving his hand, "Go and get busy." After the staff came out of the infield, not only Lu Zhengzheng, who was still waiting for her reply, but also everyone in the space heard the notice just issued by the satellite director. Auditions will be suspended for 1 hour, and free lunch will be provided to actors who have not yet auditioned. Auditions will continue after 1 hour. As soon as the notice came out, it caused a small exclamation. Director Wei, a workaholic, actually thought of leaving time for us to have lunch. I was just sure I didn't have any auditory hallucinations, right? I remember one audition that really lasted from morning until night, not to mention the actors who came to audition. Even the director himself didn't think of eating, and the staff didn't dare to remind me. Of course, I was too nervous to eat. Then Director Wei really found out this time. He is considerate of us actors who have been waiting all morning, but I am still too nervous to eat. Especially the actors who happened to have their turn to go in for the audition. They were already prepared. But then they learned that they could rest for an hour before going in. Their hearts tightened and relaxed, and they almost fainted on the spot. But the person present who was most in disbelief was Lin Suifei, who knew the reason. Zhang Lingzi wanted to eat, so her assistant went to ask the staff, who then asked the health director for instructions. So, they had this 1-hour meal time. Is it possible that Zhang Lingzi is still a relative of Director Wei? But she quickly denied this speculation. If Zhang Lingzi was really a relative of Director Wei, it would have been impossible for Zhang Lingzi to have been so miserable in the industry before, and she would have been called a box office poison and a vase in the entertainment industry. I can only say that Director Wei must be in a good mood at this moment. Zhang Lingzi just happened to pick a good time. Thinking about it, she felt more comfortable. The lunchbox ordered in a hurry is naturally not a 5-star hotel meal. But when the staff brought the food in, many people subconsciously covered their empty stomachs when they smelled the aroma of rice that could not be concealed by the lunchbox. Many of them just drank a cup of black coffee to refresh themselves in order to look better on camera during the audition. Even though I am still so nervous that I don't have much appetite, I am really hungry and I feel a little appetizing from the smell. Lu Zhengzheng immediately ran over and got 3 lunch boxes and came back. Lin Suifei held her stomach without leaving a trace and turned around. She saw that the 3 people in front of her had already opened their lunch boxes and were eating deliciously. She raised her hand and told the assistant sitting next to her, "Go get the meal." Soon, the smell of high-end cosmetics and high-end perfumes that originally filled the hall were all covered up by the overwhelming smell of rice. In Field Lounge, Su Qingmei was closing her eyes and concentrating. She opened her eyes when she heard the small sound of opening the door and saw her assistant holding 2 lunch boxes in her hands. "You went out to buy it? Which company is this from? The packaging is so crude." "No, the director of health ordered them to be ordered together. I picked up 2 copies when I came over." Su Qingmei raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Let it go, so the audition outside has been suspended." "Well, everyone is busy eating." It's strange, she had worked with Wei Xiao before and knew that this person was someone who couldn't even take care of herself when he was busy, but this time he actually thought of suspending the audition to provide lunch. "I heard that there was an actor's assistant outside who went to ask the staff how to fix lunch, and the staff went to ask the health director for instructions, and then everyone got to eat." Su Qingmei paused as she took the chopsticks. That actor has a big heart. Even she never thought of disturbing Wei Xiao, who was auditioning actors, for such an optional lunch. The key is that it was successful. It wouldn't be surprising if it was Wei Minmin's, but Wei Minmin had just left her place not long ago. Let's find out who the actor is, male or female, what is his name, and what role is he auditioning for this time. Yes. It may be a little difficult for other assistants to ask about this. After all, the last item is only known by the actors themselves and the staff. But for Su Qingmei's assistant, she only needs to show a little curiosity, and the answer will be at her fingertips. The young actor's name is Zhang Lingzi. I checked and found that she has never played any outstanding roles. She is also known as a box office poisonous star in the industry. Recently, she only had a live variety show that was considered out of the industry. This time she is planning to audition for the role. The assistant paused at this, and looked at Su Qingmei's unmoved face. "It's Zhang Yuan Zhao and Wei Fuying." "Female 1, female 2nd, Su Qingmei smiled inexplicably, her voice soft and gentle. "You really have a big appetite." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 139. Chapter 139 Audition Wei Fueying. Teacher number 55 will start the audition, please prepare on No 56. No 56. Just as Zhang Lingzi was about to stand up, Tong Yu, who was sitting next to her, grabbed her wrist violently. Then what? Perform steadily, don't be nervous. Zhang Lingzi. She looked at her wrists that were still tightly held and couldn't laugh or cry. Sister Tong, are you nervous or am I nervous? You make me feel that you are the one who is going to audition, not me. Tong Yu let go of her hands and said, my reaction is indeed a bit big. Go quickly, don't keep Director Wei and the others waiting. Watching the still calm-looking figure disappear from the infield gate, Tong Yu felt that the tension in her heart had been relieved a little. Don't panic, Xioxi can do it. The door closed behind me. After waiting for a long time, I finally saw the scene in the inner field. This is a space that is almost half smaller than the hall outside. Almost all the light sources in the space are focused on the stage that stands directly in front of her. There are 2 rows of seats in front of the stage. They are already full of people. Several people are looking at it. His eyes were looking towards her. This reminded Zhang Lingzi of her first day as the crown princess in her previous life. The ministers standing in the court had similar looks at that time, wanting to see if she was qualified to take on the important position of the crown princess. But in comparison, what she is facing now is much gentler and more polite. Walking up the stage step by step, Zhang Lingzi finally stood in the center of the stage. Let the lights overhead, which had been burning for a long time, shine down. Zhang Lingzi glanced at the blurry faces under the stage, and finally settled on the one sitting in the middle. On the face of the middle-aged man, Director Wei, teachers, I am Zhang Lingzi. This was the first time Wei Xiao saw Zhang Lingzi in person. Seeing how she stood, walked, and her whole body was calm and composed, he nodded with satisfaction in his heart until he saw the number she was wearing. Card, his eyes suddenly froze. Are you going to audition for the lead female role? As soon as he asked this question, other people who were quietly preparing to comment were also stunned. Looking at the stage, the look in her eyes was a little more surprised. So far, they have auditioned more than 50 actors, including many famous actresses, but this is the first time they have seen someone auditioning for the female lead. Leaving aside the acting skills, this courage is really commendable. Zhang Lingzi also gave him an affirmative answer, yes. Wei Xiao frowned, actually, I'd rather you play another role. Wei Fueying. Wei Xiao nodded, I have seen the survival live broadcast you took before, and the arrows were shot very well. According to historical records, Wei Fueying can penetrate a poplar with 100 steps, his archery skills are superb, and his strength is not inferior to that of men. Zhang Lingzi nodded after hearing this. Just when Wei Xiao thought she was going to give up and continue auditioning for the lead female role, she heard a rhetorical question from the stage. Director Wei is familiar with historical materials, and he should also know that Wei Fueying was an actor earlier. Emperor Yuan Zhao was a personal soldier when he was the crown princess, so does Director Wei know who taught her archery skills? Wei Xiao was stunned for a moment by the question and thought for a moment, could it be Emperor Yuan Zhao? Zhang Lingzi nodded. Several history professors in the audience who were invited to serve as judges couldn't help but look at each other. They were able to be strongly invited by the program crew to serve as judges, and later as historical guides for the crew, naturally because of their deep research on the history of the Yuan Zhao period. But I have never found out that there is such a past incident between Emperor Yuan Zhao and Wei Fueying. Someone couldn't help but ask, little girl, where did you see this historical material? The Secret History of Yuan Zhao. Everyone. Is there any history book with this name? How come they have no impression at all? Where did you see this book? I saw it accidentally when I was looking through the old man's bookshelf at home when I was a child. Of course this is not the case. The Secret History of Yuan Zhao was written intermittently by herself, and the only people who have read it are Qing Yuan and barely Shen Mocking. As an emperor's notebook, she had no intention of publicizing it widely. If nothing goes wrong, the Secret History of Yuan Zhao should be buried with her in her mausoleum. Several professors still thought about borrowing them for a look, but realized that there were still auditions at this time, so they had to suppress this idea for the time being and nodded to Wei Xiao. What this little girl said is not impossible. Emperor Yuan Zhao is not the emperor who could only sit in the palace, led armies on expeditions in her youth and middle age. Although historical records only say that she was good at spear and sword skills, it is not surprising that she was also good at archery. Who can't have 18 martial arts skills, let alone this legendary empress? Wei Xiao just watched helplessly as the highly respected professors he had worked so hard to invite were led astray by Zhang Lingzi's few words. He couldn't help but blow his beard that he had not had time to shave for several days, and said bluntly, "The first female student. No, I prefer actors around 30 years old, who can hold the scene better. You are too young and do not meet my expectations for the female lead. In this case, you should try the role of Wei Fueying." Speaking, he puffed up his chest. He is the director and he has the final say. Zhang Lingzi glanced at him and nodded, "Okay. Just try it, just spend more time. It seems that you have carefully studied the history of the Yuan Zhao period. I don't want to draw lots and draw clips. Just play the role of Wei Fueying, who was killed by the soldiers in the camp when he left Emperor Yuan Zhao's personal barracks and formally entered the army. The line we questioned." A staff member came up quickly and handed over a piece of paper. Zhang Lingzi thanked him and took it. In fact, even if she didn't read the contents of the paper, she still remembered what Wei Fueying said. Wei Fueying was the first soldier she sent to the military camp. To carve out a niche in a military camp full of men was just a little less difficult than her fight for the throne. How could she not be there on the day she went there? I'll give you 3 minutes to memorize the lines and develop your emotions. Good. In less than a minute, Zhang Lingzi put the note back into her pocket. I'm ready. Wei Xiao couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Okay, let's get started. My guard Fueying entered Lihan Mountain at the age of 3. At the age of 15, he defeated 39 people in his group and entered His Majesty's personal barracks. To this day, he has completed no less than 100 tasks, big and small, and has made as many meritorious deeds as you on the battlefield. You are young, Your Majesty personally gave me the red feather bow, and I can run thousands of miles to attack the enemy. How am I inferior to you? Why can't I enter this military camp that belongs to Dayan? If you are still not convinced, come and dare to fight. Shall I fight? At that time, when Wei Fueying was questioned by everyone, Zhang Lingzi felt a lot of anger in her heart. It wasn't until I heard Wei Fueying clearing her name that she felt better. Until the last sentence, which was full of sharpness and murderous intent, she felt even more approval and joy. This will imitate Wei Fueying's state of mind at that time and repeat what he has heard before. Zhang Lingzi directly used the people in the audience as soldiers who questioned him. When she said the last sentence, even though she had tried her best to suppress her aura, the moment the word war fell, a bit of coldness swept across, and the entire space was completely silent. End of this chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 140. Chapter 140. Try Zhang Yuan Zhao again. After being quiet for nearly a minute, Wei Xiao took a deep breath, but did not directly comment on Zhang Lingzi's performance of this clip. Instead, he looked at the corner and waved, "Do you think you can perform better?" Zhang Lingzi thought to herself that she really wasn't acting, and looked towards the corner. From the moment she walked in, she noticed someone in the corner, but it was too dark and she couldn't see his face clearly, so she didn't pay attention. How will you know if you don't try? Wei Minmin snorted and stood up and walked forward. She looked up at Zhang Lingzi, who was standing on the stage. Although she felt a little guilty, especially after seeing Zhang Lingzi's performance just now, she still held her neck and said firmly, "I am Wei Min. I will also act in this scene, let's compete fairly." After seeing clearly what the person who came out of the corner looked like, Zhang Lingzi's eyes moved invisibly. This is actually a face that is almost 50% similar to the Wei Fueying in her memory, but judging from the lively energy, it looks more like Wei Fueying's daughter Wei Xiaozhan. The only little girl who dared to lie on her knees and call her Your Majesty with a smile on her face. His surname is Wei, and he looks a bit like Wei Fueying. Could it be that he is a descendant of Wei Fueying? Thinking of this possibility, Zhang Lingzi's originally fierce aura softened a bit, nodded and stepped aside. Okay. This time, Wei Minmin was stunned for a moment. Zhang Lingzi's performance just now not only shocked her, but also seemed to be very satisfied with her uncle. She thought she would have to waste more time because she suddenly interrupted midway. Then thank you. Zhang Lingzi stepped aside and waited to see the performance of this little girl named Wei Minmin, who was suspected to be a descendant of the Wei family. Instead of Zhang Lingzi standing on the stage and speaking directly, Wei Minmin raised her chin slightly and walked around the stage. "I, Wei Fueying, am 3 years old, do you dare to fight me?" Wei Xiao raised his head and looked at his eldest niece, whose eyes were still a bit unruly and unwilling to admit defeat. He tapped the pen in his hand on the table unconsciously. Although Minmin's aura is not as strong as Zhang Lingzi's, her majestic appearance also surprised him. Zhang Lingzi's performance just now was a little too calm and determined. It seems like he has been working hard secretly without him knowing. Looking at Zhang Lingzi standing at the edge of the stage with an admiring expression on her face, Wei Xiao said. He almost couldn't believe his eyes. So he took another look and confirmed that what Zhang Lingzi showed in his eyes was indeed appreciation. It won't be possible to deal with him directly. Has this girl forgotten that you two are competitors? Seeing that she had shocked her uncle, Wei Minmin looked at Zhang Lingzi, who was still standing on the stage, and met a pair of soft and smiling eyes, as if she didn't mind Chen Yejin, who had come out halfway. He was immediately startled. What's the situation? I think her acting is better than ever. Does Zhang Lingzi not have a sense of crisis? The moment the two people looked at each other on the stage, Wei Xiao suddenly felt an inexplicable feeling. The script of Empress Yuan Zhao was created by him and the screenwriter together. From searching for information everywhere, consulting historians, and combining historical data to put the plot on paper, it can be said that he can recite it backwards. Out. Looking at Zhang Lingzi and Wei Minmin looking at each other on the stage, he almost subconsciously thought of the plot behind this clip. When Wei Fueying relied on his own strength to win the respect of everyone, Emperor Yuan Zhao, who was watching the battle, was probably also so pleased to see the talents he had cultivated. Ahem. A low cough from the side interrupted Wei Xiao's contemplation. Looking at the two figures on the stage who were still looking at each other silently, he rubbed his eyebrows with a headache. I still have to choose the candidate to play Wei Fueying. I'll give it some thought and I'll let you know when the decision is made. Wei Minmin looked back at Zhang Lingzi. When he heard his uncle's words, he knew in his heart that Zhang Lingzi was no longer the only candidate to play Wei Fueying. She nodded with satisfaction and jumped off the stage happily. Turning around to look at Zhang Lingzi, he saw that she was still standing there, and then walked to the center of the stage. A calm and clear voice reached each of their ears, I also want to audition for Zhang Yuanzhao. After the words fell, Wei Minmin suddenly stopped as she was about to return to the corner, and looked back in disbelief. Su Qingmei is in the lounge not far from here. She went over to chat with someone just now. It is very clear that the actor who will be Zhang Yuanzhao will be played by Zhang Yuanzhao. Even her uncle has already approved it. She came here just for a walk, it's just a formality. Don't Zhang Lingzi know? It's impossible. The news of Su Qingmei's return to China has been overwhelming in the past 2 days. Even if Zhang Lingzi doesn't pay attention to entertainment news, her agent will. Even knowing that Su Qingmei is there, you still dare to audition for the female lead. This is really tough. Even Wei Xiao didn't expect that Zhang Lingzi hadn't given up the idea yet. The key was that he thought that no one would dare to audition for the female lead when he knew Su Qingmei Ziyu was in front of him. He didn't even prepare the audition footage for the female lead. Since you have read The Secret History of Yuan Zhao, I won't specify a certain fragment. You can prepare a paragraph to deduce it yourself. Zhang Lingzi just pretended that he had not guessed that he was not prepared at all. Just when he was thinking about which memory of his to review, he saw Wei Minmin standing in the audience who had not left yet. Xiao Zhan, no, Minmin, since you haven't left yet, can you come up and have a scene with me? Wei Minmin heard Zhang Lingzi call her name. This was the first time that she felt that her somewhat ordinary name sounded so nice, so she nodded in confusion. It wasn't until he returned to the stage that he came back to his senses. Haven't you been poisoned just now? While she was thinking wildly, a warm hand gently fell on her shoulder. Obviously, he could only feel a slight warmth transmitted through his clothes, but when Wei Minmin raised his head and met Zhang Lingzi's eyes, he felt that the hand seemed to be extremely heavy. The general died in 100 battles, and you should be the vanguard. Wear half 100 kilograms of armor, how heavy is it? Wei Minmin stood up straight subconsciously, her cheeks trembled, and without thinking, it's not heavy. The mountains are long and the roads are long, the swords have no eyes, and thousands of soldiers are tied to you, how scary is that? Not afraid. General Wei, I look forward to your triumphant return. In fact, as soon as he heard Zhang Lingzi speak the first sentence, Wei Xiao knew what clip she had chosen. This was Wei Fueying's first time leading an army as a vanguard general, and he was saying goodbye to Emperor Yuan Zhao before leaving. By asking her these 2 questions, the emperor entrusted the lives of tens of thousands of soldiers to her who was leading an army for the first time. It was a heavy responsibility and the emperor's trust. In ancient times, being loyal to the country, and even more so to the emperor in your heart, was more than just words. If they were defeated, they would not even have the courage to come back to meet the emperor, and many would kill themselves to apologize. In a daze, at this moment, he seemed to really see a magnanimous emperor bidding farewell to his ministers who were about to go on an expedition. What's even more rare is that the girl Min Min was actually brought into the play without any preparation. Until Zhang Lingzi took back her hand, Wei Minmin still stood there without moving. Zhang Lingzi turned around and looked at Wei Xiao. Director Wei, my performance is over. After saying that, she nodded slightly, turned around and walked off the stage. The staff guarding the door saw her coming and hurriedly opened the door. Teacher Zhang, walk slowly. Wei Xiao clenched the pen in his hand, and his heart fell into a war between heaven and man. Until I heard an old professor beside me exclaim, the girl who just came for the audition is called Zhang Lingzi, right? I just remembered that before Emperor Yuan Zhao ascended the throne and proclaimed himself emperor, before he changed his reign and his own name, his original name was also it's called Zhang Lingzi. I wonder if it's the same word? If so, that's a coincidence. Hearing this, Wei Xiao subconsciously wrote down the 3 words Zhang Lingzi and handed it to the old professor to read. After all, ancient characters are different from modern ones. He then looked at his eldest niece who was still standing still and looking a little strange. Min Min. Wei Minmin took a deep breath, turned her head, revealing a pair of red eyes that were slightly filled with tears. Brother-in-law, what is written in the ancestor's autobiography in the family tree should not be exaggerated. His Majesty really loves her. She really felt it just now? Wei Xiao. It was just a scene, and now you are crazy. 1,000 years have passed, where did His Majesty come from? End of this chapter.